Hey friends, last week someone messaged me with a really interesting question. Where does the idea of worshipping God even come from? And why do we do it? It got me thinking. Jeremy Lent, in his amazing book, traces the roots of religion all the way back to when humans shifted from foraging to farming. He says that once we started relying on crops for survival, we also started depending heavily on things we couldn't control, like the weather. That uncertainty, that anxiety, may have pushed us to look to a higher power, something greater than ourselves, that could help us feel safe and secure. So, in early agricultural societies, worship was often about trying to please the gods, hoping they'd bless the weather, protect the crops, and keep diseases away. But not all early humans saw things that way. David Graeber and David Wengrow, in their excellently researched book, The Dawn of Everything, talk about forager communities in the Americas that held such deep reverence for Mother Earth. They actually thought planting crops was a kind of sacrilege. To them, digging into the soil was like harming their mother. That, too, was a form of worship, just from a very different lens. So the question is, what is worship really? And why do we as humans do it? Here's one way to look at it, from a neurological perspective. Our brains are wired to seek patterns. To make sense of the world, we look for reference points. When we're kids, that reference point is usually a parent or caregiver. But as a society, what do we use to model the kind of world we want to create? In my observation, we tend to rely on three main reference points. First, tradition. Tradition is the most familiar one. It's easy, it's accessible, and most of us grow up just accepting it without question. But tradition is also a product of its time. What worked in one era might actually hurt us in another. Second, reason, through philosophy and science. Over the last few hundred years, this one's become more dominant. People like Richard Dawkins push for science as the only valid way to understand the world. But here's the catch. While science is powerful, it doesn't really speak to the spiritual experiences that have shaped human identity for thousands of years. At least not yet. Third, God. Then there's God. The idea here is that God represents a higher intelligence, something beyond our human limitations. But this one gets tricky too, because throughout history, people have used God to justify all kinds of oppression and violence. When we claim exclusive access to truth, it can easily turn into judgment, division, even war. So, again, back to the question. What is worship? At its core, I think worship is whatever we place at the center of our lives. It's our guiding reference point, the thing we look to for meaning, direction, and purpose. And maybe the better question is, who are we becoming because of what or who we worship? If our worship is making us more arrogant, more judgmental, more disconnected from others, especially those who are struggling, then maybe we need to rethink what we're centering our lives around. There's this beautiful moment in the teachings of Jesus where he says that on Judgment Day, the big question won't be about how much scripture you quoted or how many religious rituals you did. It'll be about how you treated the least of these, those who were hungry, sick, forgotten. Because the way we treat others says a lot about what or who we truly worship. In the end, I believe worship is less about singing songs or attending services, and more about reflecting what we value most, because we become what or whom we behold. Until next time, think about this. Who have you become because of what or whom you worship? My name is Vezi, and I'm here to serve you.